Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys are having an awesome acuCONNECT conference. I think this is such a cool event that we get a chance to kind of get together virtually, but still have that connection with the live presentations and these chat rooms and the expo. It's kind of cool. It's definitely a more interactive way to do a conference versus just the webinar pieces. So today we are going to be talking about how you can simplify complex pricing with our solution for Acumatica, which is Rockton Pricing Management. So I'm going to take you guys through a few slides here and there, and then I'm actually going to show you guys the solution. And I would love to answer any questions that you guys might have. So if you have those, go ahead and put them into the chat box or the Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer those at the end. So without further ado, we will get into RPM. As I mentioned, my name is Alicia Weigel. I am the technical sales team lead here at Rockton Software. And for those of you that might not be familiar with Rockton, I'll give you guys just a little bit of background. We've actually been in the Dynamics GP space since 1999. So we are very, very familiar with being an ISV and working simpler and easier. That's kind of our motto with all of the products that we put out. And so we've worked in that GP space forever. We have some amazing solutions there. And then we realized, hey, Acumatica is kind of the wave of the future, and we wanted to get into the Acumatica space. So what we did was we took a solution that we had previously developed on GP, and we took all of the awesome functionality of that. We built that, added it outside of ERPs altogether, and voila, RPM was born. But we have been in this space for a long, long time. We are a virtual company. We span 7 different states. Our headquarters is in Erie, Colorado. I am located in Fargo, North Dakota. But the Rockton name is very widely known. We currently have over 5,000 companies using our solutions, and we are global as far as our reach on our products. So lots and lots of experience in the ISV spaces. So we're going to get into a little bit about RPM. Some of the reasons people might want to look at this solution is if you are managing multiple price lists. Think of the folks that might be managing multiple price lists and they're all in Excel. We have seen some crazy numbers of Excel spreadsheets that people are using as reference points for those special prices, those special promotions. Maybe you run contracts with certain customers that you need to fulfill throughout the year, and it's just easier to keep it in Excel. With RPM, you don't have to do that. You can actually import those Excel spreadsheets into RPM so that we can get your pricing set up, but you're not going to have to manage those sheets all over the place. Rebates. If you find that you need to collect rebates or you need to pay rebates, RPM has a way for you to actually accrue those rebates to specific GL accounts and then create those payables or those receivables, so you're not losing that money that you should, be bringing in. We find, especially in the food industry or food distribution industry, that those margins are super slim, and those rebates really add up to a lot of dollars, and that can really increase the bottom line for our customers in that space. So we wanted to find a way so that we could really hone in on those rebates. And then, is it taking a really long time for you to get to the right price? RPM is actually a web-based or a browser-based engine, but it's SQL-based as far as its platform. So we are able to very, very quickly go through all of the price scenarios that might be out there and be able to deliver that price over to Acumatica almost instantly. So we have really found a way to speed things up for you. I am jumping into a graphic here. This is just kind of a good visual to wrap your head around what RPM does, how the process works for us to come up with the price that you're going to see in acuMatica. So we're going to start over here on the left side, and you'll see we've got your currency and we've got your item. We got to start with something, right? Our connector actually pulls in specific data points from acuMatica. So think of those customers that you have. You have your items, obviously. You have your currencies. RPM is multi-currency. So if you need pricing in Canadian dollars, euros, South African rand, whatever the case may be, we can pull all of those in. But we're going to import in all of these pieces of information. So your units of measure, date ranges, quantities, locations, and salespeople, along with any other attributes that are important to you. So you can think of all those attribute fields that acuMatica is so awesome for having, and those can all be data points that we can use to drive your price. So this information is going to be imported in, and that information, as you're entering a transaction, gets pushed in to RPM, which is our giant calculator. So this is a really good way to visualize what RPM is doing. We're taking this information, putting it in, coming up with the calculation, and then we are going to spit out a price to acuMatica for you. And not only are you going to get that price, but you're also going to get price adjustments and the amounts and the GL accounts, which you can't get today in acuMatica. So we're giving you some flexibility where you can have multiple adjustments on a single line. And each of those adjustments or those calculations can be then put to whatever general ledger account that you want. So you are not limited to just having one account for one discount. Now you can split out as many discounts or increases, decreases, royalties, rebates, commissions, discounts, margins, all on one line, and you can have each of those tracked to a GL account. So I will actually get into the product and show you that. I have just lost my mouse. There it went. All right, so what we're going to look at automating those complex pricing scenarios. Of course, you can do date-driven pricing, tracked, archived, all of that information is always kept for you. So if you need to go back to 5 years ago and look at what your price was, you'd be able to handle that with RPM. And so we're going to dig into the product now and actually see it. So let's go to our taskbar, and we'll jump in. So, whoopsies, I just had this open a moment ago. Okay, so we are going to go into a sales order. I'm going to start out in acuMatica because a lot of people are curious, what is my end user's experience going to be like? Are they going to be having to learn all sorts of additional windows? Are they going to have to know new navigation? What's the deal with that? So we're going to go in, and I'm going to actually create this as an invoice. I was just in here, so hopefully this has not gone to sleep on me. Uh-oh, the wheel of death. Okay, there we go. All right, so we are going to add a new order. And we're going to pick a customer. So from what you can see on the main screen, absolutely nothing is really different than your typical acuMatica experience. This is just kind of a vanilla window. So we've selected one of our grocery stores, and we've currently pulled in some additional data points. So we're sending this particular order to store A. We have multiple locations, and those locations might be something that you want to drive your price. So we've added that. Now let's go ahead and sell some items. So we are going to start out with beef. Beef is expensive. All right, we're going to sell one quantity. So as soon as we've plugged in this item, we got a unit price. We needed to still add in the quantity and things like that, but we had a price that was already dropped right in there right away. Now, if we want to see how did we come up with beef is $16 and we can go long ways in the decimal department. Let's look and see how we created that price. So you're going to click on the pencil. RPM, keep in mind, is line level. So this isn't the whole document. This is looking directly at this line. And if we scroll down, this is the additional information that you're going to see on a window that RPM is adding. So we have our customer price. This is just a name. This is pulling directly out of RPM. And we're looking at the price adjustments. So in this single line, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 different price adjustments that are going in to come up with that actual price or that value of that unit price. So you can see here we started with adding 10-cent meat markup. So this is specifically going towards items that are in a meat class. And you can see I've got different debit and credit accounts for each of these 4 adjustments. So we've got that 10% markup. Then we have a 30% markup on the last cost of this meat. So we're looking at that item and we're looking at that cost field and we're saying, okay, as that cost field gets updated, automatically apply this 30% when we sell this item. So we've got that 30% markup on the last cost. We've also got a travel recovery markup. This is based on the location that we're sending these items to. So this can be modified based on that ship to location. And then we've added in a rebate that we want to collect or keep for ourselves. So we've done a rebate. You can see we've saved ourselves about 33 cents. And we've pulled that out and separated that to a different debit and credit account so that maybe later I can put all of those credits, those little bits and cents, we're going to eventually have that paid to us. So we can actually create that payable document and get that paid from those vendors. So we have that rebate. Now over here on the far right, we give you some options as far as when you're setting RPM up. Do you want these adjustments to affect the overall margin of this item or this sale? We can say true or false. So right now that meat markup, 10 cents, that is affecting the margin. So is the markup on the last cost. But we're not doing anything with the travel recovery markup. That's maybe going to a fuel account or something like that, or in this case, freight expenses. So that's not affecting my margin and neither is my rebate. Is it editable? Do I want my end users to be able to come in here and actually modify that amount or those accounts? I have this set to no, but you certainly could allow those users to make those changes if you wanted to. And then ultimately, does this calculation modify the unit price of the item? So right now, these are all set to true. So yes, it's going to modify. You might examples of not wanting it to modify would be things like commissions. So I could actually drop a commission into this schedule if I wanted to, and then I wouldn't necessarily want to calculate that commission and say, oh, that's going to change the overall price of this item. It's just going to be another amount that I want to calculate and keep in an account so that I can eventually pay that salesperson their commission. So this is really all that RPM is adding, is this extra piece of information so that you have a good idea of how that price was driven. Oof, having a hard time talking today. And then we also have diagnostics. So this is a full audit record of how did we come up with this price? What were all of the potential adjustments that could have gone into this price, and in which order did we adjust the price? So this diagnostics is a full audit log of exactly how we came up with this price on this date and time so that you can go back to the second. When was this price calculated? How was this price calculated? So this ultimately gives you that full record. So there's our final modified price if we wanted to read through all of the validations and exactly how the math was done. Oops, that's all. All right, you don't care. All right, so this gives you a little bit of an idea. Now let's jump into RPM and see how we came up with this and how we can modify that. So if we jump over, this is Rockton Pricing Management. Like I said, it's browser based. So this makes it really easy for whoever is in charge of your pricing, whether that be your, a purchasing manager, this is a sales team, whoever you want to have access to this. This wouldn't be your average everyday end user that's in this window. It's going to be the person that really has that clearance or that security so that they can modify those prices, update those price lists, create those sale prices, things like that. So they are going to hop into a browser, be able to access this from their phones, from their tablets, desktops, whatever they're comfortable with using. And they're going to hop right in here. And I'll just give you a quick little tour of the information that we're pulling in. I mentioned this on that slide, but this ERP data, this is the data points that we're pulling in from Acumatica. So things like your customers, obviously we want to know who to sell this to and who to give a price to, but this is where we can pull in things like those different attributes. So whether those attributes are classes, countries, customer types, parent accounts, anything like that, we can pull in those different attributes for those customers. Items, obviously, item attributes, things like your manufacturers, your item class, your item type, your posting class, your topping type, whatever the case may be, these are unlimited. So we can look at any of those attribute fields in Acumatica, bring them in, use them as filters. Units of measure, of course, currencies, document attributes, those are going to be things like that ship to address, or maybe special promotions that you want to put on an invoice or an order, your billing addresses, shipping methods, salespeople, all of that can play into those document attributes. So think of those as additional ways that you can do some pricing. And then ultimately, we'll pull in your entire chart of accounts for your GL so that you have that flexibility to track those adjustments to specific accounts if you so desire. You never have to do that, but it's very nice to have it. So that's the initial data that we're going to bring in. And of course, that data is going to be syncing and talking back and forth. So as you're adding new customers, you don't necessarily want to, not have a customer in a class or something like that. So as you're adding that information into Acumatica, we are going to be pulling that with a web service so that we can make sure that that data is always synced up with RPM. Filters. These are what allows RPM to be such an efficient and simplifying product. Think of ways that you can do some grouping. People sometimes get a little crazy with their spreadsheets and they think every single customer needs their own price sheet. Are there ways that you can get around that and get more efficient by having a filter? Maybe it's a class of customers that always gets 20% off because they're VIPs and they, shop in this particular territory. Think of ways that you might be able to group things together, and then we can create filters on that and create the prices and the price sheets based on those filters. Saves you a lot of time. Date filters, those are awesome if you are running specific promotions. We're coming into the holiday season, so if you have a Cyber Monday or a Black Friday special, or it only should run for these few days, I've seen a lot of people lose a lot of money by letting a sale go and not having that end date put in there. So we give you that option so that it automatically turns off. We don't have to worry about it getting drug out longer than it should and we're losing money on these sales. So you can build all of your filters. They're super simple. And then we get into the pricing. Yay. I'm going to start in the calculations because all of these are calculations I can add myself and easily modify. So if I need to have a base price or I need to add $10 to something, here's that travel recovery markup. All of these different calculations, my rebates, my cost plus, my dealer pricing, my distributor pricing, all of these calculations then get combined and held in a schedule. So a schedule is essentially just a box to hold all of the math. So we've got a price schedule. This is what went into that sales order price that we came up with. We gave it a name. We said it's turned on, it's active, and we looked for a source of truth for the price. I am looking at the item list price in Acumatica as that is where I am going to start before I start doing math. So it looks for that source of truth. You have the option to use list price, you can use costs, you can use specific input values if you want. You can use price books inside of RPM if you don't want to maintain your pricing in Acumatica. You can do that too. For simplicity's sake, I just went with item list price. So anytime this changes, I don't have to worry about these calculations changing. My price is just automatically correct. If I needed to drop a price filter on here, I certainly could. Maybe this price is only valid for Black Friday. Whatever the case may be, I'm just saying that this price, this is what I want to charge these my customers for beef. You can also use rounding rules. But let's look at the calculations that are in here. You can see I actually have multiple pieces that might come into play depending on, for example, that travel markup, depending on where that item is being sold, whether it's store A, store B, store C, there's a different recovery markup on those items based on these calculations, based on where that item is going. So if I look at that 5% travel recovery markup on store A, let's maybe change that to 8%. Gas is getting expensive. So I've changed it to 8% here. I'm going to change that percentage. So I have my different price mode options. I can do a fixed adjustment, a percentage, whatever I want to do. I've modified that to 8%. I'm going to hit save. That's going to update that calculation itself. So now anywhere that calculation is used automatically gets updated. So I don't have to jump around or remember all 500 price levels or places that I've saved that. It just automatically updates. So then if we go back into our price schedule, I can see that now it's 8%. So let's go back to the sales order here and refresh this. So let's go recalculate the price. It's nice that we have this option to recalc prices anytime we want. It can be at the line level, the transaction level, or a whole batch of sales orders or invoices. So I don't have to do it one at a time if I don't want to. There, we ran that recalculation and everything traveled right across. So now that freight expense is 8%. It's updated that adjustment amount and it's created a different order value for me for the price of that item. Same thing if I were to come in here and change the store location. Let's say we want to do that. We're going to save this real quick. Save that new value, recalc the price again. Oh, that actually went through real fast. So now it's a 4% travel recovery markup because store B is a lot closer than store A. So we don't want to charge them so much. So we get that change right there. Pretty cool. All right. Feel free to start thinking about questions if there are any. I'm going to go back to my slide deck here. And just run you through the last couple of slides. Rockton Pricing Management, we actually just received our certification on Acumatica 2021 R2. So we are ready to go for R2. RPM is available out on the Acumatica marketplace, or you can just reach out to your awesome partner and they can track us down and we'll be happy to get you some RPM in your life. So let us know what version you need and we are all set and ready for those new versions as they come out. We are offering a exclusive price discount to those of you that are attending this conference. Which is $200 off for life, locking in your price off of your monthly subscription price. RPM is tiered based on the level that you use in Acumatica. So whether that's an S1, an M3, whatever the case may be, we just go SML Enterprise, and then we put those tiers together. So your monthly subscription price does include your unlimited support as well. But if you want to lock in the $200 off, we are doing that for a limited time through the end of the year. So that will be your locked in for life price for your tier. So please let us know if that is of interest. And then I'm just going to throw up my last slide here. And that is our contact information. People have some pretty amazing and complex price scenarios. So if you need to see something specific for your industry or for your business, please let me know and we will be happy to set up some examples that relate directly to you so that we can prove that RPM is able to do exactly what you need it to do. We also have the ability to spin up some sandboxes if you guys need to play a little bit too, because pricing is pretty important. So feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to give you a hand with that. All of our pricing is also out on our website, so it's super simple, but let us know if you have any questions for that. So with that, I'm gonna wrap it up and see if there were any questions. I think I'm okay on time. Megan, you might have to let me know.
No, that's okay. Yep, definitely. We have 2 more minutes, so we'll see if anybody has any questions. Feel free to type them in the chat area, please, or in the Q&A area within the session tab.
Perfect.
But great presentation, Alicia. Thanks so much. And
thank you.